But I really combine having been a professional organizer since
Mm.
2008. So I combine all the practical, the 5 steps I've used all those years to get organized with the mindset. After I got life coach certified, I realized, oh my goodness, I have been missing out on this side of becoming an organized person in your
Mm.
mindset, in your beliefs.
Welcome back to another episode of Christian Wellness for Weary Women. I'm your host, Cassie Hutton. I am so excited to come to you today. I have a special guest on, Tracy Hoth, and Hoth like both, because if you read
Yes.
it, you might pronounce it as Hoth, but I actually did think that it was Hoth before you put in your bio that it was Hoth like both. I was like, yes, I got it right.
That's awesome.
Yes, and so I am so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here, Cassie.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to read your bio and then I'm going to let you kind of share with my audience what you do and why you're here and how you can help my audience. So I'm just really excited to connect with you. So Tracy Hoth, rhymes with both, is a certified life and organizing coach helping women simplify their homes, lives, and businesses through practical systems and mindset shifts so they can focus on what matters most. As the host of the top 1% globally ranked Organized Coach podcast, she empowers women to declutter with confidence, create systems that last, and step into the role of organized life CEOs. So I love what you do. In fact, I have kind of binge listened to quite a few
Ooh.
episodes recently because we're moving into a new house and we homeschool. And like when I get set up in the new house, I want to have it all organized and figured out. And so I am taking any little nuggets that I can from the podcast on top of like building a business, which is specifically more of what you do, right? You work with a lot of women who are building their own businesses.
Yes, I kind of have 2 sides. I have the Organized
Okay.
Life Academy where we go through our home. It's a 12-month program. We look at one area of your home each month. And a lot of the women in there are middle age and above. So they're at the point where they're downsizing maybe or just decluttering in general. And then I have another side, Organized Coach Academy, where we really look at the back end of your business. Any online business owners can join that. It's a kind of a self-paced program, but we do have some calls on there. But I really combine having been a professional organizer since
Mm.
2008. So I combine all the practical, the 5 steps I've used all those years to get organized with the mindset. After I got life coach certified, I realized, oh my goodness, I have been missing out on this side of becoming an organized person in your
Mm.
mindset, in your beliefs. And that's been so impactful for so many people.
Oh man, that is so interesting. Yes, I would love to know more about that journey. Because I am all about, I mean, not necessarily mindset, but but it is about the way that we think about things. The way we think about things impacts our actions, and our actions impact everything we do in life, right? I mean,
Right.
if we have a goal in mind, we've got to take action towards it, and that starts with a belief system, and setting goals and getting organized and all of that. And so that's why, like, we're here today. And what we're going to talk about is that the invisible mental load that women carry, and how to stop holding all of that on your own. Because women tend to, we carry everything. We carry the mental load, we carry the emotional load, we carry the organizing, we carry the disorganizing, we carry it all. And so speak into that a little bit, and then I've got some specific questions, unless you happen to answer them before I get to them.
Yeah, well, I just did a podcast episode about the science behind clutter, which is
Mm.
so I looked at these studies, and the study showed even when, you think you don't have a reaction to cluttered environment,
Mm.
they tested saliva and your body does have a reaction. Even when women think about clutter, even if they're not in their spaces, their cortisol levels rise. And so extended levels of cortisol heightened affects your health. And so it's not only affecting our health, it's affecting our relationships. A lot of people tell me they don't have people over to their house because they're too ashamed to let someone in. It
Mm.
affects your self-esteem because you're constantly criticizing yourself and saying you should be further along, you shouldn't have let it get this bad, all of those types of things. And so it really is keeping us from reaching the goals that we have. So it's that invisible mental load, which takes away from your brain's processing speed. I was kind of thinking of
Mm.
it like a computer. Computer, if it has too much memory, too many things on it, it's taking up its processing speed and its space that it would have in there. And so it just doesn't perform as well. And I think that lots of people have those open loops in that space that's filled up with the clutter around them.
Yeah, that's so true. I love the analogy of a computer and just like there's a glitch in there and there's just a hole in the system, right? And so things are falling through and not you're not able to really follow through because it is. I mean, personally, I am stressed out whenever my home is not organized or if I'm not on top of things, which happens weekly, right? I mean,
Hmm.
just certain things, whatever it might be, like we don't have a dishwasher in this tiny cabin. Laundry piles up really quick in a tiny space. And I had to make a huge shift when we moved and sold our home that was a 4 bedroom, 3 bath. And we moved here. It was a 1 bedroom when we first moved in, and we had a newborn. And
Wow.
it was like there was no grass growing, and so it was like dirt. And so every time someone came in over at our other house, I always was like, there's no dirt here. Why is there no dirt here? The kids can't play in the dirt. And then all of a sudden we went to all dirt all the time, and it was like, okay, drastic difference. And I remember being very overwhelmed, but it was also the moment that was actually in my life when I actually hit full on burnout too. And I was experiencing bodily symptoms and going through postpartum and all the things. And so I was also establishing new systems and rhythms here in the home. And so on top of like a depleted body, not really having systems in place, like all of it just fell apart every single day.
Mhm.
And so it's just the little things of having just an organized home
Mhm.
and that makes me so sad to hear that some of your clients like don't even invite family and friends over because they're embarrassed of their home. And so I would love to know, this isn't necessarily one of my questions on there, but how do you help clients put it into bite-sized pieces whenever like their entire home needs a whole makeover?
Yeah. I think first, I always tell people treat decluttering and organizing like a project. You're going to have a start date and an end date. You
Mm.
decide when it is, and then you break it down using the organizing steps to create a plan for yourself to do that space and we don't take the whole house. I mean,
Mhm.
if we're going to do the whole house in Organized Life Academy, we do a section of it each month and then we break down that section and put it on our calendar based on our available time that we have that month and decide in advance what we're going to accomplish. And then we follow the organizing steps. So if we're where we're at in our cluttered home or it's not the way we want it and we want to get to the point. So we're at point A, we want to get to point B where we feel freedom and we feel spacious and calm in our homes. The thing that's blocking us or keeping us from getting there is either a skill gap or a mindset gap or a combination of both. So when you learn the organizing steps and you practice them and you keep repeating them, you see what emotions come up, you see what
Mm.
mindset blocks come up, and then you address the mindset side of it and your belief about yourself. There's nothing that can stop you from getting to point B. And so having the support and the skill and the mindset work there, and you can see what you need to do, you can get to your goal. And I always think a lot of it is what you're thinking about yourself, your identity, and we're
Mhm.
never going to outperform our identity.
Mm.
So if we believe we're the messy one, we're the
Mhm.
piler, we're the disorganized, we have ADHD, so we can't be organized. We have all those beliefs that maybe we've grown up with, people have
Yeah.
told us, and we've repeated them and we've
Hmm.
built all this evidence, there's no way we can outperform that. So we have to stop and figure out, do I want to believe that? What else is true? And we look for evidence to support the opposite of that until you become the organized person that you want to be.
That's so good. I love that you use the word evidence towards it,
Yeah.
because it sometimes organizing is a learned skill. It doesn't come to all of us naturally, or maybe you once had it and then like seriously when motherhood hit, it all just went out the door, right? It was just like one day I had all the organizing skills and one day I didn't. I do remember remembering that just down to my computer files, right? In college, I had everything organized. I knew where it was. I had every file folder and files within file folders, and I knew where to find it. And then I had babies and life changes, and you just kind of get caught up and like it's like, well, I'll have to get to that later because this is a priority right now. And then it just kind of becomes a jumbled mess. So I love that because you do have to change the narrative. And some areas don't come natural to people. And so, but it can always be a learned behavior or a learned skill.
Well, and what's great about what you just said is this is what I see too. I see people that have transitions in their life, new babies, someone died, they've inherited something, they've moved, they got a
Mm-hmm.
new stressful job. All of those things are transitions. And then a lot of times will create so much that they have to do that then it feels overwhelming and they just get frozen. They just
Yeah.
get stuck in that place and they need help just kind of catching up with where they're at. And so those transitions are a big deal. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and not to beat ourselves up over them, but really
Mm-hmm.
to just acknowledge, look at what you've done, look at what you've been through. And it's totally okay. And maybe this is where you need to get some help.
Yeah, that really makes me think of like with HTMA testing and what I do in central nervous system work. I mean, a freeze state really is an actual response from the nervous system. You have fight, flight, and then sometimes you have freeze.
Hmm.
And it is a lot of times you go into freeze mode when the body is so overwhelmed with everything that's gone on. You've been fight or flight for so long. It's like, okay, now I'm forcing you to freeze. And so if anyone is in that place where they used to be able to work through things, and get through things and take it in bite-sized pieces or whatever, or just push through, there does come a point where it's like I can't push through anymore, and the body's saying, the body is physically responding and saying, I'm shutting down because I'm forcing you to shut down because there's been you've spent through all of your nutrients and your energy reserves. And so that's one way of like the body's response. And so it can be super helpful when someone like Tracy or myself comes along and we're there to really support you through that process and bring you back to a place where you rewire the way you're thinking, you work on your body, you're working on all of these things no longer alone, but also in a way that supports you that's not gaslighting to you and it's not like pointing the finger at you, or it's a way to say like, no, actually what you're experiencing is really natural and
Yeah.
you just need some help to get through it.
Yeah, totally. It's in it, the process of decluttering and organizing can be such a healing process
Mm,
if you're not criticizing yourself and bashing yourself the whole time through it. Just really allowing yourself to trust that you'll have everything you need when you need it, and that you're going to learn about yourself and learn about your emotions. And all those emotions are a signal to us
mm,
to ask ourselves, what's going on? Why am I not able to make this decision? What is
mhm,
happening in this moment? What is this emotion telling me? And I think it's so valuable to see that that's a healing process, and it doesn't have to be rushed, and you can really take time in that to learn about yourself and learn about why you did what you did, but even more so where you're going and how you can support yourself in where you want to go.
yeah, that's really good. Because I'm even reminded on one of your podcasts, you shared a testimony of someone going through, you know, basically things that she had inherited. I don't remember if it was from a grandmother or who it was from, but she was holding on to this one, piece, this one item, and I think she had it set out as decoration. And she kind of was like, I'm not sure why I'm holding on to that. And there's like a family photo that was beside it. And she was like, the family photo seems a lot better. And she actually got rid of the family heirloom. And I don't remember if she actually donated it or just took it down from the decoration. But then there
Right.
was, like you were saying, there was a whole like letting go process of it and a whole belief system behind it that she processed. You may remember the story better than me. But it really was a great story and testimony for you to share on your podcast. I really enjoyed that one.
There's so many cool stories of people and what they learn. And recently I had someone learn that they were having trouble because everybody has a different challenge in the steps. So the
Mm,
organizing steps spell the word space and it's sort and then purge. So a lot of people have problems making decisions about what to keep
mhm,
and what to let go of. And then once you do that, then assign homes. And her problem was in the assign home steps.
mm,
And this is a different story, but she didn't know where to put things. And so she would wait and ask me because she didn't want to make the decision because it was going to be the
mm,
permanent place. And she was afraid she would do it wrong or not have it be the perfect place. And I was like, what if it's all just like a test? And you're going to test to see if that's a place. It doesn't have to be permanent, it can be the place for now. I like adding for now at the end of it.
mhm.
And she started doing that and she's like, Tracy, it's amazing. And now we're doing the same thing in her calendar. Like, this might be the place where you do this task. For now, let's put it there. That's the home. Or she also noticed it was coming up in dating. She was like, oh,
Mm,
I don't want to date because I don't know if it's the perfect home. I don't know if he
yeah,
will have the perfect home here. And I'm like, huh, very
that
interesting.
is
What if we
very
just are
interesting.
testing? Like, this
Yes.
may be the permanent home. And she was like, I'm noticing it everywhere now. That
Wow.
perfectionist part of her is showing up in these different areas. All she learned from organizing. So think of how that heals your whole life, or you see the reflection of what it's done. You're in all these different areas of your life.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It does. One thing that really does apply to your entire, all aspects of life. I love that. Um, I could stay there for a long time and discuss all of those things, but I do want to get to some of these questions that I have for you and really talking about taking the overwhelm or the mental load off of moms especially, but working women, the women that are really managing the household. So my first question, what does the invisible mental load actually look like in real life for women who feel like they're constantly behind? I call it like, I feel like I'm in a race against time a lot of times, even though I'm doing everything. Like I'm not even taking a break during the day.
Yeah. And what does that do? That's like the computer slowing down because we have so many open loops, so many unmade decisions, so many items laying around. I mean, I do work with people on their computer. They have so many tabs open, they can't even
Mhm.
find the one they need. And so that mental load is affecting you. And it just takes starting small. It just takes you to stop for a minute and make a plan and then start small.
That's so good. Because I'm reminded of like one client in particular that I just started with, and our first call was like, here's like the one thing that I want you to do, and that is I don't want you to change your diet, none of that. I just want you to start eating at consistent times. And at the end of the call, she was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. It's the first step. She didn't feel overwhelmed, and I think she even felt excited about it. She's like, oh, I can do this, especially when they go into it thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to change everything all at once.
Exactly. And there's another story I had of a client who that was where she was at with her paper in her house.
Mm,
She was frozen and she had been frozen for so long. And she was the main caretaker for her husband. She had a teenage daughter. She had a full-time job. And she was like, how am I going to handle these paper that had just built up all around her home?
mm,
And we made a plan. And so she had this new thought, I have a plan. And I
mhm,
said, what can you commit to? How many pieces of paper can you sort? Because the first step is to sort. We're not making any decisions. We're just sorting into piles, like with like. And so we made some boxes that she could sort into, like super important papers, papers that needed action, car, home, investments, insurance, those main things. and she started sorting and she said, Tracy, I can commit to sorting 5 pieces of paper every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes she sorted for an hour, and other
Mhm.
times she sorted 5 pieces of paper. And you could see the excitement on her face when she thought, I have a plan now, and all I have to do is
Yeah.
sort 5 pieces of paper. It just makes the hugest difference. And she went through every paper in her whole house. And how
Mm.
would she have done that if it weren't for starting with 5 pieces?
Yeah. Or really starting with hiring you, right?
Yeah.
Working with you.
Getting
That,
help. Yes,
I mean,
getting the
really,
support you
yeah,
need.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I love that. Because yeah, paperwork can be a big deal on top of organizing other parts of the home. Paperwork is a big deal because then that puts you behind when it comes tax season, and that puts you behind when it comes to, if you're running your own business and someone calls and needs something, and you can't, whatever it might be.
And bank account, you're missing
Yeah,
payments and you're not
yeah, yeah.
getting refunds that maybe you would have gotten if you would have been paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so my next question for you is what is the real impact of carrying the mental load long term on a woman's energy, focus, and ability to show up in her life?
Well, that brings me back to that computer. You know how our computer, I hear the fan running. My daughter's boyfriend, and he just moved into an apartment, and his computer was laying on its side. I'm like, why is it laying on its side like that? And he goes, well, because the fan, the way it's hooked up, will overheat if it doesn't lay on the side.
Oh my
And it makes me think of this, like our lives will overheat, like they'll wear
God.
out and stop
Hmm.
working if we're not taking care of them.
Yeah, that's so true. And from a physical aspect, it's very true. Even if you're not exerting physical energy, when you're under just mental stress, your body
Mhm.
is actually burning through a lot more nutrients every single day. And this is what ultimately leads to burnout. And so these systems, like what you're talking about, and just taking small steps to get organized in whatever area of your home or your life or your business, um, just begins to take that mental stress off of you. And that in and of itself is going to allow cortisol levels to drop, and so much just the mental space is freed up.
Mhm.
So many other areas of your life are freed up to go have fun and to go enjoy your family and to do things that continuously, it's like a trickle effect of lowering cortisol levels, right?
Yes. And I'm doing that. I've noticed that in my own life recently. I've been probably overworking and putting a lot of pressure on myself when it comes to my business. And I started saying, Tracy, just let's delete some stuff. Let's
Mhm.
declutter your business. Take off these things that you've joined and programs you're in, and
Yeah.
let's remove that and just relax. And I used to think we make time so that we can get the stuff done we want to get done.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
like, no, let's make time to do something with someone else, to work on relationships, to work on rest and having fun and going out for walks. Let's not just fill it with more work.
Yeah, exactly. I had a friend and they celebrate Shabbat every Friday. And so a few months into them staying consistent in celebrating Shabbat, he said, I realized my mindset used to be that we work so that we can rest. But he said, actually, I realized we rest so we can work.
Mm.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second, I may have gotten it backwards. But that's what we think. We think that we have to work so hard and then we can rest at the end. But actually, it's the rest when we prioritize the rest first, or taking things off of our plate and allowing ourselves, that margin of time to take a deep breath and reflect and enjoy, what God has given us. Then that's actually what energizes us to do the work without overloading ourselves.
Yes, it's so good. And so much of what I work with people on is counterintuitive to maybe what we taught. Maybe it's just the way our brains
Mhm.
are made. It's just like the opposite of what we think.
Yeah.
Like you think if you just yell at yourself more, you'll get stuff done. And they're like, "Wait, I don't know how to be nice to myself." And so it's such a good thing to work on and learn through this whole process.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. The rest part of it is so hard to learn. So hard to learn. Um, Okay, my next question for you. You teach simple systems and decluttering habits. How does physical clutter connect to the mental overload? Which I kind of feel like we've already touched on that one, but you may can elaborate some more.
Well, I know I can't remember who it is and labeled it the silent to-do list. But when
Mm,
you walk around your house and you have clutter out, it's yelling at you. So
yeah.
you see it all and you're walking around or even going on your computer and your desktop's messy or your tabs are open or whatever it is. And it's all telling you you have this to do and this to do and this to do. And it just weighs your mind down because all of that stuff is out and speaking to you silently.
Yes, I can attest to that right now because we're moving. And so my living room right now is a mess. I say it's a mess, but it still is. There's things there that I'm like, okay, that has to go, and that has to go, and that has to go, and this isn't organized yet. And we're going to go when it gets over there. I don't even have the containers yet to put it over there. All the things going through my mind.
Right.
But it's very true. When things are out, I the silent to-do list. I'm going to remember that because that hits home.
Right.
Um, okay, so my next question for you, because you are offering your 15-minute daily decluttering uh, habits for my audience for free. So
Yeah.
walk us through your 15-minute daily decluttering habit and how it actually reduces mental load.
Yeah, so the 15-minute declutter challenge is a free offer that your listeners can go and get at simplysquaredaway.com/declutter. And I developed this last year and had my Organized Life Academy test it. I told the ladies, just go and test this out. And we did it on one of our calls, and it was so impactful on their lives because it got them started because they only had
Mhm.
to do 15 minutes and they follow the organizing steps: sort, purge, assign homes, contain, and energize. And they got more done than they ever thought was possible. And taking this and using it in your home one area at a time. So let's say like this month we're working on our office and you can take one drawer, one shelf, one category of things and follow the organizing steps to declutter and organize that one area. And you just keep getting better and better and better at it. You can hang the steps on the wall. There's one of the sheets you
Mm.
can print out so you have them there and you can just keep practicing. And they've worked. I've been doing this for almost 18 years, and the steps work, and you following the steps will work, and you'll gain momentum. And I've been working with a lady for quite a few years, and once she started doing the 15-minute time period, the challenge, she's like, Tracy, I have never been more proud of myself.
Oh,
And so it's so great just thinking you're doing it no matter what you get done in those 15 minutes. You go through the
yeah.
steps as far as you can. You just do another 15 minutes in another time. And you just
Yeah.
keep going. And that's what makes that momentum.
Yeah, I love that. That's actually something I've been like, whenever I'm kind of avoiding a certain task in my home,
Mm,
I'll remind myself, but it's actually, what if you just work on it for 10 minutes? Like I'll give
yeah.
myself a time frame and it helps me so much. So I believe in what you're saying. The 15-minute decluttering challenge, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
instead of then feeling overwhelmed, she was
yeah.
feeling proud. And so your
Yes.
mental load, the mental load part of it, you're filling it with something other than overwhelm and spinning and negativity because you got started and you got something done.
Yes, I love that. It's amazing. So my last question for you, how can women start sharing responsibilities at home without creating tension or feeling like they're nagging? I feel like this is a big one. We
Mm.
could probably go pretty deep on this one.
This is a big one that people often ask me. And even I myself will think to myself, oh, it's those people that are creating the clutter. And I'll walk around and I'll be like, oh, those are my shoes. Oh, that's mine. And I'll go hide it and put it away. And then I'll be like, you guys need to clean this up. And I'm like, here, have it. It was my stuff. And so I'm thinking the first step is to you get good at it. You
Mhm.
start practicing this. And what several clients have noticed is that when they do the work themselves, they're an example, they're inspirational to the rest of the family members, but then they also create homes for things and have labels on it. So then other people
Mhm.
know where to put things. Because if you're not taught, like think, no one teaches us really how to organize. And then if you're a younger person and you were never taught and you're
Mhm.
told to clean up, like you don't know where to put things.
Yeah.
So until you get organized yourself and you start teaching and training your kids or your family members or whatever, then they'll know. And she said her boys got so excited because there was bins in the pantry now that were labeled. And they knew
Mm.
exactly where something went just because their mom started getting organized and started putting labels on things so that everyone knew where things went.
Yeah, that's so good. That's actually definitely one of my first goals in getting into our new house, especially because we homeschool. And I have this really great shelf that my brother built me that houses all of our homeschool books and, everything. And I was like, I have to label. Before I do anything, I have to label because I know, especially my girls, they're just going to throw scissors in whatever box they want to. They're going to throw the glue in whatever box they want to. And so I've got to have pictures and labels right there. But I had
Yes.
not thought about necessarily the pantry or, even their bedroom. I need to label, baby dolls go here, baby clothes go here, that kind of
Right.
stuff.
It's so
Yeah.
helpful because then they know. And I always think for kids, make it easy for them to put it away. So people sometimes want to sort Legos by color or make it super complicated. It's like make it easy for them to put away, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
looks like for your family. And then the other thing for homeschools, supplies and books and stuff, I love getting those cardboard magazine holders.
Mm.
Like the
Yeah.
individual cardboard ones, they sell them like 12 in a pack or something. They're
Mm-hmm.
super sturdy, and then each person gets their own, and all their notebooks and books go in that. And then they can be also used for like categories of different books on shelves. I love that for
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I use that in my closet because the shelf doesn't have any containers. It's just an open closet in a bedroom, an open shelf. And so those cardboard things are great and they're inexpensive, so you can
Yeah.
use them and label them.
However you want to. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a very helpful conversation. I do have one more question for you along the same lines of delegating and on the lines of feeling like we're not nagging. It really makes me think of spousal relationships and how do you help a wife or a spouse navigate that with their the spouse navigate it
Yeah.
with their spouse.
Yeah. I think have lots of conversations. Have spaces that are communal spaces that everyone's going
Hmm.
to use with standards, but also allow people to have their own space that they can put how they want. They can have
Mm.
it messy if they want to. So he can have his space, she can have her space, but then there's communal spaces. And
Mm.
one thing I worked with a client was she wanted things her way. She wanted it to look her way. She had a very low clutter tolerance where the rest of her family had a higher clutter tolerance. They didn't even notice. And so take ownership of the things that you want to take ownership of. So
Mm.
instead of getting angry and mad and frustrated and nagging, take ownership of that and just take the stuff and put it away. It'll take you 5, 10 minutes. Even
Hmm.
though you think they should do it, if you
Yes.
own that, you will save yourself from getting frustrated and angry. And then
Hmm.
because she was doing like a 10-minute tidy at the end of each night, and I said, okay, well, everybody can have what they want to do, but you pick the thing that you want to look the most specific way, and you own that and have other people do something different. That doesn't really matter as much. But
Yeah.
lots of conversations, prayer,
Uh-huh.
lots
Yep.
of talks about it, knowing that
Definitely.
the Lord can change him. You will not be able to change him. So if it makes you happy to have no clothes on the floor, then pick them up every morning. Just make it a little
Yeah.
habit that you do.
Yeah, and I heard something. A wife changed her perspective one time. I think it was something on the counter, him just laying his change or his pockets out on the counter, and she was like, you know what? I'm thankful that I have a husband that I am able to pick these things up. And so she just that one little shift in perspective helped her so much. And it was like, oh yeah, a reminder to the rest of us. Like, I am thankful that I have a husband that doesn't put his hangers up and leaves them in the bathroom all the time.
Well, and use that as a challenge. That is your prayer time for him. Every time you see a
Yeah.
sock on the floor or something that he didn't do that you wanted him to do, pray for him in that moment. And every time you're doing laundry, when you're folding that person's clothes, pray for them. So this could be a beautiful opportunity for you to spend time with the Lord. And instead, we're just angry about it because they're not doing it the way we want them to do. So
Yeah.
challenge yourself to pray every time you notice something that's, I'm telling myself this as well.
Yeah.
Every time I'm annoyed by something, that is going to be
Yeah.
my signal when I feel annoyance to pray for my husband.
Yeah, I love that. And I do want to say it's like a very good idea as well to just have that open line of communication. If it really is something that you're having a hard time moving past, like, hey, honey, I would really appreciate it if you do this, and have that open line of communication, because for my marriage personally, it was a huge burden off of me once I just finally learned to start communicating my needs. And
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of forced to because I was in burnout, and it was like I literally can't do half the things that I used to be able to do. On top of
Right.
that, I have a newborn at the same time. And so our marriage was forced to have to communicate a lot of these things. So the two go hand in hand. Don't think that it's always one side or the other. It's both. So,
Right. Right.
Tracy, thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation, and I know that my listeners are going to get a lot from this. And y'all reach out to Tracy. Let them know again, one more time, how they can reach you and what the name of your podcast is.
Yeah, my podcast is the Organized Coach podcast, and get the declutter challenge at simplysquaredaway.com/declutter.
Yeah, and we'll have the link for all of y'all in the show notes as well. And with that, I will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.